All right. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Better by the Numbers podcast presented by Life Metrics. I'm at the third annual Roundtable of Longevity Clinics, joined by Robert Hendricks. Good to meet you, sir. What are you doing in the longevity space?
Well, I work with the Methuselah Foundation, and it's interesting because the Methuselah Foundation has been involved in longevity for the past 25 years, quarter century.
Wow.
So when people weren't talking about longevity, in fact, back when it was started, many were very critical of our founder, David Goebel, because they felt like this was a space that didn't really warrant a foundation, a 501c3 organization. But what was interesting with David is it was born out of his anger over the system. So a lot have gotten to the point where David is today. Like, the system is not working. You see your doctor for 5 minutes. You have to qualify through insurance. An insurance agent is telling you somebody, or maybe even an algorithm is saying whether you can have a procedure or not.
Yeah.
They're dictating our lives. And he said, I don't want that. I want to help people live longer if possible, but live better until they die. So extend their health span. He really coined many of the phrases that we now know of in the longevity space. And his whole purpose and mission is to make 90 the new 50 by 2030.
Wow. Okay. So what I'm hearing is he was probably, you said 25 years.
25 years,
at the forefront of this very forward thinking.
He was kind of the father of longevity.
What was some of the early pushbacks that he was getting? I mean, because the space exists now, right? You know, so it's here. It's here to stay. It's here to grow. But I imagine there was just so many pitfalls and hurdles to get through to even get here.
Yeah, I think the primary one was raising money for a cause that it seemed to be a great cause, right? He wanted people to look at aging as a disease.
Wow.
You know, what a concept. Yeah, it's a disease, but it was never really looked at as a disease. It was never really looked at as something curable. It was always looked at as something inevitable.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Right. It's going to happen. But he felt, and many feel today, that you can stave off that disease, that you can make your life better, that you can actually live to 90 and actually live a productive life all through your 80s. And that kind of talk was not happening 25 years ago. So that was the primary pushback, the philosophical, ideological bent that he had. He had a very positive view of the possibilities, and many had a very negative view. And so it started very small, just small prizes that the foundation sponsored for scientists. And ever since then, there's been great research done. There's been money that has been put towards startups. There has been, in fact, over about 2 years ago, the foundation invested in a brick and mortar clinic that is actually really the space where it's looking at whether it's Methuselah protocol, which was developed over a 10-year period, whether that trademark protocol is working in the 65 to 85-year-old population. And what we're finding it is. And so it is effective. And in that time, we're refining it as well. So right in a real world clinical environment, it's not just research, it's really where the rubber hits the road. It's showing that it is effective.
What are some case studies that you ideally are proud of that you have seen in this research, basically? Like, how many people have come out a success in your opinion?
Well, I don't think we can really quantify what doesn't happen. Very difficult, but you can quantify what does happen. So as an example, the foundation recently had a grant program of $500,000 put aside to give 65 to 85-year-olds a 1-year membership in longevity services. Somebody that we had in the program who was in very, very good shape, but was saying, you know what, I see, I have cognitive decline in my family. I know this is possible for me. I want to go through this. And she did. And in her first few months, it was discovered that she had something that could have killed her.
Wow.
This week, she went through surgery. If it weren't for these services, she might not be alive. But her life and the life of her husband is getting better. Even though they've only been in the program for about 5 months, they feel like they are new people. And of course, they credit the program for saving her life. So, yeah, there's
amazing.
and there's
Yeah,
and there's
that's
a
great, yeah.
and there's a lot of stories like that. But remember, what doesn't happen,
Yeah.
you can't quantify. So
Yeah, you
if
didn't
I
know-
don't
yeah,
get a
right.
disease, I can't say, well, I didn't get disease because of Methuselah protocol, right? Yeah.
My question is, since you've been in the space so long, is this a new way to replace traditional medicine, or is this something that is going to be working with traditional medicine?
You know, that's a great question, and I think it's a very it's a multifaceted answer to that great question. Number one, I think that there is a place for what you might call traditional medicine, and so in our program that we have been sponsoring on behalf of the foundation, which gives longevity services to these individuals, if they have some kind of issue, like for example, a present issue with cancer, we will not take them on as a client unless they continue traditional medicine. So there's a role for that. There's a role for an oncologist. There's no doubt about that, right? So, and an oncologist is never going to be seen as an atraditional or a longevity doctor.
Right.
So there's an absolute role for that. Longevity medicine can't replace it. What it can do is make it less useful because you're not getting the disease, because that side of the equation is always reactive. It's not proactive. And so longevity services will help that side in combination, because inevitably you and I, we're going to get sick. We're going to need that.
Yeah.
And so treatment is going to have to be there. But the second thing I'd say is that the way that a true longevist looks at this is not simply by taking this space and saying, you know, this is the latest fad. There's a lot going on in this space that's not good. I mean, let's face it. I mean, because it's now a fad. 25 years ago, it was something that was vilified. Today, it's something that is the next greatest thing. You know, and neither is true. And so we have to recognize that true longevity services, true health span medicine, is really helping us live better. But it's never going to stop us from getting sick. It's never going to stop us from dying. And so both in combination, if we can borrow the best from each, we can create a healthcare system that is much more powerful than it is today and actually serves the needs of people.
You said that right now longevity is a fad, and some of the messaging out there is not good. I guess to cut the fat out, what would you say the messaging should be?
Well, I think naturally when something gets popular, especially when it's popular among people of wealth, which longevity services, that's really who it's serving. And that's not where the Methuselah Foundation is, but that's really what it's serving. I think that you're bound to have to deal with those who pile on and say, I have the next best thing. And as a consumer, if I look at myself as a consumer or as a potential client of longevity services, I have to say to myself, I need to look very carefully at what I'm buying. It's unfortunate, but the next best thing is coming out tomorrow. And it adds, if you look at even my supplement closet, which is not anything, there's 20 things in there that I take every day. What is actually working? I'm not really sure, but I know I'm healthy because I have a doctor that checks me out, that looks at my blood work, looks at my biomarkers, looks at my VO2 max, and I'm tracking my progress. But you could spend your whole life piling on new things to your own personal protocol.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real problem for people, because there's a place where you get decision paralysis. It's the paradox of choice. When it's the old paradox of choice. Barry Schwartz wrote a book, a seminal book on psychology, 2004, The Paradox of Choice, when less is more. And he brought out in that when there are so many choices, it seems like that's the democratic thing to do. That's better. Choice is better.
Yeah, you got all these choices. You got
choice actually is bad. It's psychologically, for most people, choice is overwhelming and leads to disappointment, depression, and decision paralysis. And so right now in the longevity space, there's a lot of choice. We don't know what's true, what's effective. Not all of it is backed by science. Some of it is backed by fuzzy science. Some of it is backed by real science. But it's up to the client, the consumer, and the ethical provider to really give us what we need personally, because that's what it's all about. What do you need? Not what humanity needs, not what the average male needs, but what do you need?
Not what someone in my age demographic.
That's right.
That's
exactly.
kind of what I like about the space. It's very much focused on the individual.
Yeah, that's right.
It's specific to Roundtable and this convention. What would you say you're seeing that is exciting in the space? That some of the major takeaways that you got here that excited you?
I think just being together is exciting. I know that many people are part of this because they've paid into it, but they've been very generous with their with sharing their knowledge, and I think that's a very special thing. I've been involved in organizations where people are less generous, more careful about their competitors, and I don't feel that here. I feel that this is a very egalitarian gathering where people are sharing best practices, and where you're allowed to say, you know what, you have a great idea, I want to do that. That's okay. And that's the feeling I get here. And I think there are a lot of great ideas. There also, what I like about the Roundtable is that there's a multiplicity of views. So some are diametrically opposed. And so, like I said about the consumer, the client, in this case, those who in the profession, you walk away and you decide, I'm going to look at this and see whether this is for me. I'm going to research this. So it gives you lots of ideas, lots of takeaways, lots of action items, and you walk away from here hopefully better at what you do and better to serve the clients.
Nice. And you build a cohesive relationship with other people.
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
Space. I like that. And lastly, where can we find you?
Well, Methuselah Foundation is right outside of Washington, D.C. So that's where our foundation is, and that's where you can find us.
Do you have a website?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's mfoundation.org. mfoundation.org.
All right, Robert Hendricks, thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome.
That was it for our episode of Better by the Numbers podcast presented by Life Metrics. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bro.
Yeah, I swear.
We're in it till we run out of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think it evolves. Yeah. I think AI is a game changer in this space for medicine.